Another succession of seeded soil blocks. Salanova lettuce popping up. These guys. The red ones are a little bit slower. So I squeezed those 2 flats of germinating salanova onto this table with the edges of the other trays hanging out. Bok choy starts that I need to thin. These are the newest salanova, the previous succession of salanova, the previous succession of salanova, and the 2 trays that I need to plant out this week. Just need to get these 2 beds over here rototilled. I need to pull off that Agribon row cover from the kale and collard greens and replace it with insect netting. It's pretty warm. I've got to prop up my garlic. That's what I'm gonna do first thing. I was gone yesterday, so I just propped open the greenhouse doors because it's gonna be really hot. Completely blue sky day. And I came back and the basil leaves have this funny color. I don't know, too hot? Too much sun? Not enough water? I ran the drip on all the greenhouse beds this morning early before the sun came out. So hopefully they have enough water. On to taking care of my garlic. I hit all these beds. It's just this end that got hit by the wind. Here are my 3 beds of collard greens and kale with Agribon row cover on. And I'm gonna switch this out to the insect netting so I can get, you know, a little more airflow. I shouldn't need heat in these beds anymore, right? Look at all of this kale leaf. So huge. So much of it. Okay, so this kale and the collard greens barely fit under this insect netting. I could only roll this rock over like once, and that's still a little bit too tight. I ordered a whole new roll of insect netting this year, and now I'm realizing that I should have gotten the wider width. This is about, I think, 7 feet, and so I need the next width up in order to cover these greens. I had kind of thought that maybe I would try and keep my kale covered all summer long, just because the spotted cutworm moth does so much damage to the kale. I just lose so much leaf. I'm getting attacked by no-see-ums. So yeah, I've got some new wire showing up, or more wire because I ran out. So I can make these hoops a little taller. And so then if I had insect netting that was wider, that would work better. And I also have some clips that I'm gonna try and see if I can't clip the row cover to the wire hoops, so they don't have to use rocks to roll things under. But even then, I think I need a wider width insect netting. So anyway, there's that. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is. The forecast has been so changeable. It was supposed to be overcast today, and so thought I had plenty of time to come out here and get this lofty solid mix cut, but it's pretty much all blue sky. So I'm just gonna get this done as soon as I can. All of the lofty salad mix is cut, and I was able to cut it neatly enough and soon enough. I might be able to get a second cut on it. I know I'm not the second cut lettuce lady, but I need lettuce. These green onions, I think, are ready to harvest too. That's one downside of growing the green onions in here, is they really stick up tall and their tops are getting kind of popped over by the row cover. Okay folks, so I've been working in these 2 lettuce beds. They're gonna be lettuce beds. Last year, I put a little rotted seaweed on these beds, I planted some clover just to put some nutrients into the soil. And then in the fall, I put seaweed on these beds, fresh seaweed. And then in the spring, the birds were kicking through it. And so the clover started growing up through. So then I put tarps on, suppressed the clover and other weeds. So now I have just dug the seaweed. What I had done was like scrape the seaweed off the beds into the pathways, and I was stomping through, crunching up the seaweed when it was dry. So I just shoveled the seaweed from the pathway back onto the beds. And the only thing is, like, it's ready to rototill after I put a little fertilizer on here. But I've got this back little 10 feet of salanova lettuce. But it got like eaten by, I'm actually a little afraid that there's cranefly larvae in the soil, but I dug some holes and I'm not seeing any. So it could have been slugs that got that bed of lettuce. I think they're small enough now I still might be able to transplant them. So I'm going to try transplanting them down kind of like through the center of this bed where I have chard and some mangy baby spinach growing. I was just starting this transplanting here. I've got some red lettuce here in the center. I was digging this hole and look what I found. It's a cranefly larva. So I don't know if there's just a few in these beds or if they're just littered through these two beds here, in which case hopefully the rototilling helps. These guys are ready to rototill after I put a little fertilizer on top, and I've got 30 little salanova lettuces planted in between the chards, my chard plants that maybe someday will grow into mature chard plants. Hey folks, this is me at 5:30 in the morning. Try not to be stupid this time. The sun is just popping up over the mountain. I grabbed a tub and I'm gonna get a little bit of this red salanova lettuce because I think that my mix just isn't bright enough. I picked the red. Since last week I got the green, and plus the red will really be the one to brighten up the salad mix. 5:30 in the morning wouldn't be so bad if I hadn't stayed awake till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got who knows how much kale, and I just need to get, I don't know, 75 or something more from this bed here after getting from these two beds here. Mosquito. Toad is hunting for slugs. Buddy, move, do something, play games. 2 tubs of 12 bunches each, Italian kale, total of 24. Collard greens, 8 bunches. 2 tubs of speckled romaine mix, and they're each 5 pounds. I added a pound, so they're actually each 6-pound tubs. I've got 3 pounds of the mix for the restaurant and 6 8-ounce bags. Hey folks, I'm back. I wanted to take a look at the seeding from last week. This is the spinach. This stuff was the really chunky monkey seaweed that I put on the bed and tried to jang seed through. And there are sections that are pretty good, and then there are whole sections where there's nothing. Lofty salad mix back here is doing the worst. I was concerned that the material here was getting too dry. This is just some compost. So stuff coming up, but then like big old swaths of nothing. This is the different stuff. This is the baby chard that I seeded at the same time, is what I'm trying to say. hand seeded, and everything's coming up really beautifully, you know, in the same material, seeded at the same time. So this is the baby chard that I seeded at the same time I did the spinach over there. This was hand seeded, and it's all coming up pretty good. So this is the orich that is coming up really nicely. Here I've got 4 rows of it in this bed along with the cucumbers. And yeah, I think we already checked the bed ends. The radishes are all coming up. Yeah, see? Orich. 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 Oh, this is so amazing. The rototiller is over there waiting to rototill. Bump, bump, bump. Over here. And these beds. He's kind of a janky fellow, so Tyler's gonna do it. I just gotta throw down some fertilizer. Yeah, but next up I need to pluck some leaves, some more leaves off these kale and collards. So the thing is I could have gotten away with planting just 2 40-foot beds of kale with a little bit of collard greens at the end. But I've just, in the past, had so much damage from this spotted cutworm that I thought, oh, I'm just gonna plant 3 beds so that I have enough. But I probably should have just planted 2 and then started a later succession of kale so I'd have something fresh later on, because this is just too much. This is too much leaf. So I rolled these suckers up like a burrito. I don't know, I think I might have 12 or something in there. And cleaned up this patch pretty nicely. Now I need to get the kale at the end, and I need to do that for these other 2 beds as well. Kale, I think there's like 9 bunches or something in there. This kale leaf is still bent over. So this isn't gonna work too good. That's a little boy deer from last year. He's got his little tiny horns. Hey buddy, I'm coming right through here, okay? Hey silly goose, what you doing? Did you just do a big yawn? After 100 years, this week my raspberry flowers finally opened up. Oh my goodness. And the bees are all over them. There. And let's go take a look at my potato patch. Now I know that everybody else in the world has mature potato plants at this point. But I'll take whatever potato plant I can get. I think actually these are definitely big enough to go out, and these are the next week's, and I think I could even plant these out too. Obviously these guys have a little bit longer to go. Okay, I've got everything transplanted. The back 20 feet, I have 120 plants for the first succession. Front 20 feet, another 120 plants. Second succession, I transplanted some bok choy. Hopefully that attracts any slugs away. So I'm back over at this side of the garden where I got my little seedlings. I decided to take the row cover off because I had it on there just to retain moisture. And since we're expecting overcast days and even some rain, I thought I'd just pull that off. And then I was looking, oh, I should do a little bit of weeding. It's getting kind of, weeds are getting ahead of me. So I got these 2 beds done. And I thought, oh yeah, it's just mostly like these little flowers and stuff. But then I looked down here and I've got so much clover choking out my carrots. Okay, so I got the clover out of this bed of carrots. That was not fun. There's clover in this bed of carrots too that I left because I think the carrots might be outgrowing it. Between the baby chard out here and the orach in the greenhouse that are doing well, I think I'm going to have enough stuff for my salad mixes going forward, so I'm happy about that. I'm messed up, I probably said this in previous videos, with my successions of lettuce. Instead of seeding 2 trays, I only seeded 1 for each succession. I have 1 more cut of lettuce for next week, and then I don't think I'm gonna have enough. There was a regulatory question this week, which totally had me freaked out, about whether I could sell salad mix in the grocery store. But my little friends at Farragut Farm figured that out for me, and so I can sell salad mixes. I will probably do a whole separate video on that in case people are running into the same issue. I only got 1 of the beds of kale and collard greens, you know, with the big monster leaves thinned out of here, and these 2 other beds are just like, whoa! So I was thinking I could sew together 2 7-foot or clip together 2 of the row covers I have now, and that would be tall enough to go over the new hoops that I'm gonna get. So I'm gonna try that. Anyway, I'm done. I'll talk to you guys next week.